quite an experience of getting this all together. As you know, we're really late, and really sorry that we're late. But we were shooting videos. We're in Budapest, Hungary right now, and we were shooting some videos, and we just, I guess we weren't paying attention to the time. But we're here now, and thank you for being here. And then we're trying to set things up, and of course, not everything is perfect, but if we're recording and you can hear us and you're here, then we're just going to do this. Drum roll. Thank you. So we really appreciate that you're here, and we're just going to get started. So like I mentioned, we are in Budapest, Hungary. Last week when we did this, we were in Romania. We took a road trip across Romania. Beautiful countryside, went to Dracula's castle. This is where she lives. Well, she doesn't live in Dracula's castle. I don't think anybody does, but it's been a real wonderful experience, and I always recommend travel. I think travel is one of the best things that we have in this world, because it gets you out of your comfort zone and you get to see life, how other people live it. And it is connected to what we're going to talk about here, scarcity and abundance, because I think a lot of people, and I'm going to, oh, by the way, I'm going to give you an exact process. The last live we did was a little disjointed, and she's very organized, and she's like, we need to get more organized. We need to give people a real process that they can use. And I couldn't agree more. So we sat down and we worked it all out, exactly a process that I'm going to give you with real examples. So we're going to get there. We're catching our breath at the moment because we rushed back really fast when we realized that we were running late. And like I said, we were trying to set everything up, and it's not perfect, but we're all here, so we're going to do it. When it comes to travel, every time I tell people in the U.S., which is where I live, that I like to travel, and I talk about places that I've been, I'm always surprised at how much people don't travel in the U.S. And they'll say things like, "Well, I'd love to travel." I say, "Well, why don't you do it?" And I say, "Well, there's no way I could afford that. There's no way I could take the time off to do that." I've got the same, excuse me, I've got the same time as everyone else here. And I don't want to say we all have the same amount of money, because that's not true. But travel has never been cheaper. It's never been cheaper to travel. So a plane ticket to even another country, I don't know where you live, but sometimes it's as little as $300. And my plane ticket to Romania was only $700. And I know $700 can sound like a lot of money, but it's actually not when you think about it. When you think about the things that you spend money on, we blow $700 pretty quickly. And I know people like go shopping for clothes, and clothes are important. We got to wear clothes. And but a lot of times, if it's between me having like a new nice jacket or 2 or 3 new nice jackets, or taking a trip somewhere, I want to take a trip somewhere. Those jackets are going to wear out at some point. They're going to not be in style at a certain point, and I'm not going to wear them after a while. But the memories that I get from when I travel they stay with me for a lifetime. And you never know exactly how much just even a single trip is going to change your life or influence you in some way. And to me, these things are precious. So travel, if you're thinking, or if you want to do it, if you like the idea of travel, and you're one of those people who says, "Well, I'd love to travel, I just don't have the money or don't have the time," you do. You just haven't found it yet. You just haven't realized it yet. And it takes coming from a place of abundance to realize these things. I get that, because for a long time I stayed in a state of scarcity, which didn't serve me at all, but I just kept thinking, like, I don't have the money, I don't have the resources. And clearly I did. And sometimes even running some NLP processes on myself, within 24 hours, I found resources, I found solutions that were always there. That's the thing to remember. The solutions are always there. They're always around you most of the time. You're just not aware of them. And when you start waking up to the resources within you, you start waking up to the resources all around you, you start doing all the things that you've always wanted to do, and you start really utilizing your potential. So in a moment, we're going to jump right into this whole process. But actually, I want to make some adjustments because if you notice, my eyes keep going this way if you're on YouTube. And if you're on Facebook, my eyes keep going this way because our cameras are spaced a little too far apart. So just give me a moment to adjust it so the cameras are closer. That's better. I don't want my eyes to seem like they're going back and forth. I'm going to take a sip of water too, just because we were rushing.
Okay, so then what are we going to talk today about?
We're going to talk about how strange it is. Get a little flare there too. Let's talk about how strange it is that they don't have Uber in Budapest.
True, they don't have Uber and they don't have Lyft either. But don't complain, Bolt. They have Bolt. How is that sound?
That's like a thunderbolt, I think. But you also think if someone bolts, like they run really fast.
Yes,
so I think that's
exactly.
The idea behind it.
Exactly.
So they have Bolt. So if you're coming to Budapest, download the Bolt app.
Yes.
But I would also say no meat. I don't know what you mean by that. Okay, somebody's saying no meat in the comments.
Probably meat is another company that does the same like Uber.
Would that be meat like the food? That's the way they spelled it. Or would it be meat MEET? Like you meet someone?
Maybe it's a company that plays around with the name.
It'd be really weird if there was an app where you're supposed to meet people or a taxi service and they called it meat, like chicken or beef.
Oh, no, it wouldn't. What if they serve food during the ride?
Of course.
Who knows? Okay, then. So.
All right. The first step is let's talk about what a scarcity state is, because I think scarcity and abundance is overused. I think ever since the movie The Secret came out. Accent sounded like me. Okay, I gotta stop getting distracted by the comments. It's just kind of a strange comment, but I don't know. All right, so this thing about scarcity and abundance is thrown around so much. I think it was from the movie The Secret and the concept of the law of attraction. I think it's so used that we kind of forget what it really means, and so I think it's important to take a moment to define it. So what is a scarcity state? Well, it's better if I give you examples. So a scarcity state is basically feeling like you lack resources, or not just inner resources, it could be external resources. So like I was saying about travel, you know, people say, well, I don't have the money, I don't have the time. So they're coming from a scarcity state. It's a little bit different if you say, I choose not to travel because I don't want to spend the money on travel, or I choose not to travel because I'd rather spend my vacation time at home. Now, you're not coming from a state of scarcity. You're taking responsibility and you're saying, I choose not to do that. I choose to do something else with my time and my money. But when people are saying, oh, I'd love to travel, but I don't have the time and I don't have the money, a lot of times people say, well, you know, where they're coming from is a state of waiting. Like, I'm waiting until I make enough money. I'm waiting until I have the time to do something. That is a scarcity state. That's probably one of the biggest scarcity states, is waiting. So if you're waiting for something to happen, know that you're in a scarcity state. So that might actually freak some people out and might think, well, no, I really can't do this right now. I'm waiting for this or that to happen. But you can do something about this. You can, you know, instead of waiting, take some sort of action. We're going to talk more about how to deal with that. But waiting is if you're waiting for something, you know, that's scarcity, because you're thinking, I don't have what I need now to do what I want to do right now. Okay. What are some other scarcity states? Perfectionism. Perfectionism is a huge scarcity state. Some people feel like they're lazy, but some people feel like they have to have everything perfect before they do something. And really what that is about, it's about hesitating. That's about not wanting to take the action. So I keep making these excuses that everything needs to be a certain way before I actually go and do it. So if you're one of those people, because I hear people sort of, it's almost like they're bragging about being a perfectionist. Well, I'm so much of a perfectionist that, you know, I can't go and do that. Or they don't always come out and say that they're a perfectionist, but they make it sound like they have such high standards that I can't do this until, you know, this piece and this piece and this piece are just right because I demand the best. Well, life is often sloppy and it's messy. And if you're waiting for everything to be right, you're going to be waiting forever, probably. So then it never gets done. So perfectionism, if you're pride yourself on being a perfectionist, I would say change that right now. Or if you're not actually coming out and saying it, but you're thinking everything has to be right before you do something, again, state of scarcity, it's not going to happen. You're basically giving up your control over whether or not this happens, because nothing's ever going to be perfect. It's just not how it works. Another state of another state of scarcity. I almost desperation. And by the way, so what we're doing here is if you're just coming on, I see some people are just coming in. We are basically defining what a scarcity state is. We will then define what a state of abundance is, and then I will give you a 4-step action plan to move from scarcity to abundance. So desperation, anytime you feel desperate, and this is more of an obvious one. I think perfectionism and waiting are less obvious of a state of scarcity. Desperation is more one of the obvious ones, when you feel desperate, like you desperately need something. I can't live without this. If she leaves me, then you know, what will I do? I won't be able to live my life. Anything where you feel dependent on something else that is out of your control, dependent on someone else. If you're dependent on someone else for something, other people are never within your control. You can influence people, but you don't control anybody. So that puts you in a state of desperation. All right, feeling of not enough. I think this happens more so with men. I don't know, but we have a woman here, maybe.
No, I think it's very easily correlated with perfection, because you're always thinking there can be better, this is not enough. And basically when you say not enough, or I want more, I know it can be more than this, basically you're following perfection. So I suppose they are quite similar one to another. Am I right?
I mean, all of these states are going to be quite similar. I was thinking more in terms of one of the worst things you can tell a guy, or I guess maybe one of the worst fears that men have, is that we're a loser.
Oh, you're not good enough for me.
You're not good enough. Yeah, or you know, I think, and being that loser thing is the idea of not being enough. You know, not enough. I'm not enough for my job, or I'm not enough. I'm not good enough to make enough to make the money that I want to make. I'm not good enough for the woman I want to date. That sort of thing. But I think what you were talking about too is when something is not enough. Like, yeah, something's never good enough, and I think parents do that a lot to their kids, where their kids are never good enough, so they're always pushing them. That's a state of scarcity, that feeling of not enough. Whether it's I feel like I'm not enough, or something external is not enough, and I have to keep pushing that other thing. I would say that I used to suffer a lot from self-worth issues, so the not enough, I felt that a lot. And I would say now I have to catch myself, because you pointed this out, like things in my business are going well, they're trending upward, they've been trending upward for a long time. And then I'll put my attention somewhere where it's not moving as fast as I want it to be. And so when something good is happening, and I'll look at that and she'll say, well, wait a minute, look at the good thing. Look at the good thing that's happening.
Yeah, usually that would confuse me. It would make me think that everything's good, but then no, actually it's not. And it confuses me, like, okay, so is it going well or it doesn't? Are you happy or you're not?
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of my conditioning. That's kind of the family, the culture that I grew up in. I've worked on that a lot, and I think now it's more of like, I want to make sure I'm not taking my eye off of anything and getting lazy and thinking, oh, everything's great, so I can just, you know, take my hands off the wheel or take my foot off the accelerator and kick back. It's like, no, I want to keep making sure everything is working. So I noticed Tony says you're talking rather than doing. I think that's a great one. I don't know. I have to think about that as far as scarcity goes. I think talking rather than doing, people will talk about something and expend the energy on talking about it, and especially after they've talked about it, it gives them a false sense of having done something about it, when actually that's not at all the case. And this will drain you. I remember when I wanted to be a writer, I would talk about my ideas with everybody of the book I wanted to write, the screenplay that I wanted to write. And I noticed that as long as I was talking about it, I wasn't actually writing. And it was, I think the feeling that I was getting was that I was somehow doing something about it when I really wasn't. So I don't know if this is, I have to think about that. Is that a state of scarcity? I'm not sure. But yeah, if you're a type of person who's always talking about your goals and never taking action on it, that talking about it gives you a false sense that you're doing something about it when you're really not. So definitely you want to watch that and do something about that. Okay, other states of scarcity.
Stress, maybe?
Stress will put you in a state of scarcity. Overwhelm. I think overwhelm has, it's connected to that not enough, like I can't do enough, or there's just too much stuff to do, so I'm not enough. What are some other ones that we mentioned?
Oh, we have another comment.
Someone says here, embracing failure because it turns off ego and it allows learning without constraints. We're going to talk about that. I have a specific word that I use for what you're talking about. So, all right, so we've identified some scarcity states. I think everyone here has a good idea of what we mean by scarcity. So, like I said, instead of just throwing that word around, actually, what, you know, when you think of scarcity or you say, oh, I'm in a scarcity state, actually know what you're talking about, know what it is that you're in scarcity about, rather than just saying that. We say a lot of things in personal development and self-improvement, and without really defining what it is, and you know, without really knowing what it is, then how can you do anything about it? That's what we want to do. So abundance states, or states of abundance, a really common one, I think it's pretty obvious to most people, is a state of gratitude. If you're grateful for what you have, if you're appreciative for what you have, then you feel like, well, I have what I need. And that's often, that is very much a state of abundance. If I feel like I have everything that I need, then I'm good. Then this doesn't mean that, I have everything I need, I'm so content, I don't want to do anything else. I think people confuse this a lot of times between gratitude and desiring more. Desiring more, if it's coming from a place of fulfilling your potential, that's natural. You're always going to feel pulled to fulfill your potential. Now, that doesn't mean, oh, if I'm desiring, if I'm fulfilling my potential, then I must not be grateful for what I have. I don't think it's either or. I think you can absolutely be grateful for what you have and still want more, because you know there is more that can be done. All right, so what is another one? Another...
Maybe confidence?
Confidence. Well, confidence is what comes after you have the resource. So confidence is sort of like a symptom of having the resource. So if I'm grateful, then that gratitude is a resource that will lead me to feeling confident. I think a lot of times people do try to do that. They try to be confident first, and then, oh, if I feel confident, then I can do anything. But no, you need the experience, or you need the resource in order to feel confident. So you want to be confident about things that you're sure about. Like, I use this a lot, and I got it from Steve Andreas, is that, you know, you don't want to be confident about flying an airplane if you've only had one flying lesson. That's not going to be good. And so if you're not feeling confident about something, that's usually because something is missing. In the case of that metaphor or that analogy, it's the skills. You want to have the skills to feel confident about that. It's sort of like, it's a safety mechanism inside of us to not feel confident about something that we should not feel confident about. Problem comes is when we don't feel confident about something that we do have skills that we should feel confident about. That's a different story. Okay, so let's see.
Courage, determination.
Courage is another state of abundance. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is not acting from a place of no fear. It's acting in spite of the fear. Courage is acting even though I have fears about something. If I didn't have a fear about something, and I act and I do something that I'm not afraid to do, it's not courageous. But when you act courageously, when you act in spite of fear, you're basically saying, okay, I feel resourceful enough, I feel abundant enough to go and do something here, knowing that I'll be okay, even if it doesn't work out. So even if my worst fears come true, I'm willing to take this risk. That's a state of abundance. It's a wonderful state of abundance. All right. What else? Do we have any other states of abundance we want to talk about?
What about resilience?
Yeah, I'm looking for where, because we wrote all this out. Where are you reading this? Point to it. Ah, okay. I was looking at the wrong part of it. Okay. Determination is a great one because I remember I had probably my first business coach told me this. I said, I was doing what a lot of people do with me when they come to me for coaching. They say, well, I want more confidence. And it's like, okay, well, like I just said, you need to have the resource, you need to have the experience in order to have the confidence. Confidence comes later. My business coach had a different approach to it. He said, I don't need confidence. All I need is determination. So if you don't have the experience and maybe you are lacking the resource, or maybe the resource is within you, but you're not accessing it, then what? Determination is wonderful. You say to yourself, okay, here's my target, here's what I want, and I'm determined to do it. I'm determined to get it. That immediately puts you in a state of abundance, that determination. So I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know what I need to do exactly to do it. I just know that I'm going to do it because I'm determined to do it. I often do this with trips when I don't normally plan a trip too much in advance, or I don't really think it through a whole lot. I know there's a place I want to go and a time that I want to go, and I'm determined to do that. And when I see a good ticket come up, because I have this thing that brings up when prices on plane tickets to certain areas drop, and I see that ticket, I go and I buy it, and then I figure out everything else after that. So that's an example of determination. How am I going to live there, or how am I going to have the money to be there, or what am I going to do for childcare for my kids, all those things. I know I'll figure all that stuff out. So that's an example of determination. Okay, resilience, that's another one. I fall down, I fail, but I'm going to get back up because I know I might even fail again, but at some point, if I keep getting back up, I will win. I will get what I want. So that's resilience. They keep getting back up. Because some people fail one time and they don't get back up. They fail once and then that's it. They're done. Because they fear that they're going to fail again and again and again and again, that they'll never get what it is they want. Resilience is a state of abundance because you know at some point it's going to work. At some point you're going to cultivate the skill, cultivate the resource, find the resource, something, and you will finally get what you want. So resilience is another really wonderful one. All right, so how do we get from scarcity to abundance? So let's ask everyone here. So now that we've defined what are scarcity states and we define what are abundance states, how do you get from here to there? How do you go from one state to the next? I'd love to hear some examples from people here.
We have one.
He says, keep getting back up. That's the resilience, exactly. Oh, was he answering the question or did that come before?
I think it was right when you asked the question.
Okay, so that's a good one. Keep getting back up when you're in a state of scarcity. You keep getting back up means keep trying even when you're in a state of scarcity. I would think that would probably work. I think the problem that people encounter, though, is the lack of motivation when they're in a state of scarcity. When you're in a state of scarcity, also fear is a state of scarcity. So when you're in fear, you're afraid to act. You're afraid to get back up. So I think there is an extra step that we can identify than just forcing yourself to get back up. But I've done that before. I've found it in myself to get back up when I wasn't sure why, even when I was in scarcity and I was scared and I didn't know what to do, but I thought to myself, I'm still going to get back up and I'm still going to take a step forward, and who knows what's going to happen, but I don't know what else to do but that. I'm not staying down. I'm going to get back up. So let's hear from anyone. Want to throw anything else out there? Yes, scarcity, that's true. Scarcity comes from a perception that there is a lack of something. That Todd Gross Jr. Just commented that. Agree. So anybody else want to take a stab at this? How do you go from a scarcity state to a state of abundance?
I suppose you'll have to teach us.
Yeah, I don't hear anybody else. So try to become as well versed on the topic or material as I possibly can. Knowledge. Okay. I don't disagree with that either. Let's take a moment and you have any stories of you going from a state of scarcity to a state of abundance?
Maybe I have. It's just that I don't think I realized that I was in a state of scarcity and I went all the way to abundance. I can't remember exactly. Maybe it happened, but I didn't realize it. I wasn't aware of the situation I am in.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, it's often what's nice is visualizing. Okay. So
or change habits on Facebook.
Oh, change habits. Yeah, but I mean, it's kind of like, well, what enables you to do this? Gratitude. Okay, so that's a state of abundance, but how do you get there? So if I'm in scarcity, if I'm afraid, if I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed, or I'm waiting for something to happen, how do I go from there to one of the states of abundance? Let's give a scenario here. So let's say I'm waiting, because I think that's so common. And I go, wow, all right, I realize that I've been waiting for this, for something, and now Damon's telling me this is a state of abundance. So what do I do now? Okay, well, I want to move to a state of abundance. So what state of abundance should I move to if I'm waiting? So let's see some of the ones that we talked about. Determination would be a good one. Okay, so I'm waiting, and Damon's telling me this is a state of scarcity, and that determination is a state of abundance. So what now?
Do you think you always, when you identify the scarcity state that you want to change, do you have to find immediately the correlated abundance state?
I think it's a good idea. I don't think it's necessarily going to be, you're not going to necessarily pick the right one every time, and it might take more than one. But I think if you're waiting, switching from waiting to being determined is a great
it makes sense.
chance. Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's a good chance that that's going to be a good one. Now, let me tell you a story. I was coaching the CEO of this wildly successful business, and he's going through some imposter syndrome. When he was a kid, he was told a lot of negative things about himself, about what he was capable of, about what he could do, or his worth, his value. And we went back to a time when he was a kid, and he had been hearing these things about him having a learning disability, and that he couldn't learn like other kids. And this teacher, he finally hit a threshold. This teacher was trying to help him with something, and he wasn't getting it. And she said, well, that's about right. You have a learning disability. And something just snapped in him. Okay, and he said, no, all the people who have been saying this about me are wrong. I don't have this, and I'm going to show them that they're wrong. So he went from scarcity, which was just believing these people, what they were saying about his ability to learn, and he flipped to determination. No, I'm determined now to show them that I can learn just as well as anyone else, if not even better. And we identified that was that moment that really shifted him toward in the direction of where he eventually found himself, which is a very, very successful CEO of his own company. So that's an example of that. And so he didn't know how he did that, but we broke it down. And the reason why we needed to break that down is because now he's finding himself in a situation where proving himself in that way served him for years and years and years, but it's not serving him anymore. It's actually limiting him. So now he needs to make a new choice. And that new choice means he needs to let go of trying to prove himself anymore, because he's already proven it. People have accepted he's successful. And now he has a team of people who are dependent on him and his guidance and his direction. So he has no one to prove himself to anymore. He's already proven himself. So that's not going to work anymore. So he has to make a new choice. And so that's why we were breaking this down. So that's a good example of using determination to move from a scarcity state to an abundance state. And it's served him very, very well. So people have been posting here. So let's see. If I'm in a state of scarcity, I will give myself a task, no matter how minuscule, to complete, and it will fuel or stoke the fires of morale and drive. More or less, I'm lacking my dopamine response. Okay, I think that definitely could work. Are you asking what internal resources I would need? The solution to this, I'm just checking. The solution to this is definitely a resource. But in the state of abundance, you can also say is a resource. So acceptance is really where it starts, okay? Acceptance that you're in a state of scarcity. That would be the first step. And acceptance of how things are, okay? When I tell people you're in a scarcity state because you're waiting, what do you think is the first thing that they say or do?
You're wrong, I'm not.
Yeah, they defend it. They defend it, which is part of that state of scarcity. It's like when you go into a defense mode like that, scarcity, and now I'm gonna drill down even harder and push myself even deeper into the state of scarcity by defending that state of scarcity. And the same goes for anything else. If I tell somebody who's being a perfectionist, or they even say, oh, I'm a perfectionist, so yeah, that's why I haven't started this project, whatever. And if I told them, you know, that perfectionism is really a state of scarcity and you're avoiding taking responsibility for fulfilling your potential, they're probably going to push back on me really hard and defend that. So how about acceptance?
So basically first you realize you're in a state of scarcity and then you accept it.
Right, I kind of jumped the gun, didn't I? I jumped ahead to the step. But it's acceptance, really, that's going to bridge you to the state of abundance. Yes, you have to realize that you're in a state of scarcity and then accepting your situation as it is, accepting that your situation. So if I'm in a state of scarcity because I say, I have no money, I want to travel, but I have no money, realizing at first that you're in a state of scarcity, and then acceptance of what your situation is. Like really, and it's not just acceptance and, okay, I accept that, you know, I don't have as much money as I want. It's also looking at what's actually there. What resources do you actually have? Because when you're not accepting the situation as it is, when you're in that state of scarcity, you're actually blocking out the resources that are around you. You're blocking out the solutions, whether those are internal resources or external resources. You've made a statement about it, not made a statement about it. You are focused in on the scarcity, so therefore you can't see the resources and you can't see what's actually there. So acceptance means not just accepting I don't have what I want, but it's also accepting what you actually do have. And this is the beginning a lot of times of opening up to or awakening to gratitude. So what's actually here? What do I actually have? Okay, so I know I've told that in a kind of a confusing way, so I'm going to give you the actual steps. We're going to back this up and give you the actual steps. First step is to realize that you're in a state of scarcity. This is probably the hardest part because we're very much invested in believing in that state of scarcity, and to then suddenly say, oh, that's, you know, realizing that this is what it is. That's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to accept when you're so invested in it, because we don't think of it as a state of scarcity when we're in it. If I say I'm a perfectionist or I'm waiting for something, to me that's, in my mind, when I'm saying those things or I'm thinking those things, I'm not in a state of scarcity. That's just how it is. I'm waiting because that person hasn't done this or that, or this thing hasn't happened yet, so here I am. So realize you're there, then accept where you are. And immediately when you accept your situation as it is, abundance will start to come in. Gratitude will start to come in. Appreciation for what you have will start to come in. And that is, you will naturally feel, it'll give you more space. You'll feel, especially if you're overwhelmed or stressed, and you just say, oh, okay, just accept that I have limits here. There's only so much time that I have to accomplish something. Suddenly you'll have space. It'll feel very, very freeing, and you can breathe again. And then the next step is to identify the state of abundance that you think are, and there could be more than one. Identify the state or states of abundance that you believe will help you here. What is it that you need to get to where you want to be? And you can say, you can call this a resource. I know Antoine mentioned something about resources. States of abundance are obviously resources. So you want to identify what resources, could be one, could be two or three or four, is going to help you in this situation to get to where you want to go. And then the final step, and this is the most important, is take action, is to do something. I did a video on this that I published, that I uploaded on Wednesday about this, about taking bold action. If you haven't seen it, make sure you go back and look. It's my most recent video. When you take bold action, it creates a shift. So you could do the first 3 steps here. First 3 steps, realize you're in a state of scarcity, accept your situation as it is. Number 3, identify the states of abundance, state or states of abundance you need in order to get to where you want to go. If you do these 3 steps and you don't take the 4th step, you're probably just going to slip right back into scarcity. You have to take action, you have to do something. Otherwise, you don't make the full shift. But I think this is what a lot of people in personal development and self-help try to do. They try to sort all of this stuff out in their heads. Maybe they write it out. Maybe they write out their goals. Maybe they write out all the stuff. Maybe they write out everything that I just described in the first 3 steps. But then they don't take the 4th and final step. And a lot of that is fear. Fear it's not going to work, fear of disappointment, fear, of failure. And if you're not taking the action, you're still in a state of scarcity. I'm going to say that again because it's super important. If you're not taking the action, you're still in a state of scarcity. If you are truly in a state of abundance, you would take that action. Even if you still have the fear, even if you still have concerns, even if it's risky, you'll still do it. And by taking that action, it solidifies you shifting into a state of abundance. And it may take more than one too. That's, it's not like, oh, I took the action and now I'm going to run away or run for cover. No, you need to keep moving forward. So you can repeat this process several times, actually. In my previous video, that's what I really go into, is taking that bold action. And I even go as far as to say, pull out a piece of paper and write it out. Say, I will take bold action regarding whatever it is. And if that freaks you out too much, then cross out bold and just write, I will take action. Because, it might scare some people about taking a bold action. Again, let me also say, I'm not saying you should take a risky action that could harm you or that could obliterate your finances. Make sure you're doing your due diligence when you make a big decision like that. But most decisions are not as bold or risky as you think they are. What I thought was bold, taking bold action, maybe a few years ago, it doesn't seem bold at all anymore, because once you do it a few times, it's kind of like it's no big deal. In that video, I talk about a bold action that I took last summer and how well that has paid off. And if you really look at it, what I did. It wasn't so bold. To a lot of people, it seems bold. To me, it seemed bold at the time. And that was, I saw her. I saw her walking down the street in downtown Santa Cruz. And I wanted to say hi to her. I wanted to introduce myself. I thought she was very pretty. And at first, my heart, jumped, and I started sweating. I was a little nervous. And she's this sweet, innocent person. Now that I know this, like, what is she going to do to me? Is she going to,
eat you alive?
Yeah, rip my throat out. So I went and I talked to her, and she was very receptive. And I asked her for her phone number and out to coffee, and one thing led to another. And then here we are, many months later, doing this together, and we've been dating ever since, and she works for me. So what if I had not taken that? It seemed like a bold action, but like I said, if you look at it, it's not that bold. What harm could have come to me if things didn't work out? She would have said no. I would have said okay, and then I would have forgotten about it. It's not a big deal. But I took that action, and I'd hate to think what things would have been like, or what I would be missing out on had I not taken that action. And it's really so simple. So little actions, or you can call them bold actions, have such long-range effects, especially if you're doing it from a state of abundance rather than scarcity. Almost anything that I can think of, any decision that I've made, any action that I've taken from a state of scarcity has not worked out well. It might have not been a disaster, but in most cases, it just didn't go well. I didn't get what I wanted. It just didn't work out. And if I look at almost every action that I've taken from a state of abundance and moving forward, and even the risky ones, almost all of them have paid off wonderfully. Even if I failed, even if I didn't get what I wanted, because I learned something, I sort of already won when I took that action, because I grew, I shifted, I changed, I pushed through fear, I pushed through a barrier, I pushed through a limitation. So even if I didn't achieve the goal, anytime you're pushing through a barrier, anytime you're pushing through a limitation, you're going to win, you're going to grow, and that's absolutely worth it. All right, I see the thumbs going up. I love seeing that. And the hearts. Let's see, let's take a look at some of the people. What time is it?
It's
We've been doing this for an hour. No, we were late.
almost an hour.
Almost an hour. Okay.
You can take some questions.
All right. So does jiu-jitsu change state to abundance? Well, there are times when jiu-jitsu is painful, not just in the physical sense, but there's a lot of losing. And I would even go as far to say that it can feel humiliating. I'm not saying that anyone is humiliating me whenever we're sparring or anything, but it can feel humiliating. It can feel daunting. So pushing through that is definitely will make you grow. And I guess in that sense, when you're growing, it normally puts you into a state of abundance. So I don't know if the jiu-jitsu itself, like when you're practicing it, doesn't necessarily feel like you're in a state of abundance, but you grow so much from it. You push through limitations a lot in jiu-jitsu. So I think in the long run, not in the moment, but in the long run, yes, I would say it does. And maybe it doesn't for everybody. I think that's kind of you find your own strategies, you find what it is you want to do. I think taking Brazilian jiu-jitsu, it kind of scared me a little bit at first. And that's, when something scares me, a lot of times that's an indication of something I need to do. There's a draw to it. And I know that if I go and do it, that it'll test me, and it'll push me, and it'll put me out of my comfort zone so that I grow. So Tony also says, how could you help a work culture go from scarcity to abundance? I mean, I think the same process works. I think if you have a culture of scarcity, and I believe the culture that I grew up in, there is a lot of scarcity. They tend to look backwards and glorify the past, and they don't look ahead enough. I find in California, kind of the culture there is to be optimistic and positive and to look ahead. That's where I live. So I like that. It suits me very well. I think if you follow that same process, if you find a work culture that is in the state of scarcity, first of all, they probably don't know it. They probably don't think they're in a state of scarcity. They're probably blaming it on everyone else or something else, or they're blaming it on management. And the first step is to, like I said, realize that that's where you are as a culture, that you're in a state of scarcity. And then second step, accept the truth of what you have and what you don't have. Accept the limitations, accept also the resources and the good stuff. And then next thing would be to identify what state does the culture need to move to. Is it determination? Is it resilience? Is it gratitude? Is it courage? Is it a combination of those states that the culture needs to move to? And then you got to have an action plan. You got to do something. You have to take action. You have to do something. Even as a culture, it will not change until you take action. You're asking about the insurance biz. The action I took was to let it go. The action I took was to walk away from it because it wasn't serving me. That was an example of bold action for me, and I mentioned that in the video that I did on Wednesday. That insurance agency was my safety net, and I finally got to a point where I was like, the safety net is holding me back. I could cling to it, or I could move through it. I could let it go and move forward. And I think clinging to it as a safety net was a state of scarcity. What did I need? I needed determination. I also needed to accept. It's interesting. When you think about your abilities, your resources, what you're good at, what you're capable of, you need to take responsibility for that. And might sound strange. And I probably would find that sounding strange if somebody said that to me. But now I turn this on myself and I say, I need to take responsibility for my potential. I need to take responsibility for what I'm good at. So if I'm clinging to the safety net, I'm not delivering the value that I'm delivering here. I'm putting my time and attention into safety and security. And I have enough safety and security. I know I will be fine. I'm determined to do what I love doing for a living. And it also allows me to do travel and everything else that I'm doing. So, and I need to take responsibility for what I believe that I'm good at, what I believe is my talent. And that's this. So it was time for the insurance business to go. And that was my bold action. I had to back that up and walk away from it. So, and things have been great since. Doesn't mean they're easy. It's just things have been good. Let's see what else. Is there any other questions here? My swoosh technique is on the swoosh pattern. Well, I would also say, well, thank you. You probably saw my swoosh pattern video, but I didn't create the swoosh pattern. I don't want to take credit for something I didn't create. That was Richard Bandler, I believe. It was the founders of NLP, but I think it was Richard Bandler specifically who created that pattern. YouTube comments extremely delayed from when I typed them and you seeing the comment. Yeah, that happens. I apologize. Okay. All right. Well, I don't know.
Remind the steps.
Want to go through the steps again?
Yes.
Okay.
Quickly, just to make sure everybody takes them.
4 steps. Here's what you need to do. Sign up for my membership program. Sign up for my membership program. Sign up for my membership program. Sign up. So if you want more of this stuff, we forgot to, well, we didn't forget. We were too busy rushing back. We thought we were going to have more time. And I would have put the links in the description for you to sign up for my membership program if you want to take this deeper, if you want to go further with this, if you want more walking you step by step through this process. We changed the promotion. As I said, the $1 thing was going away. And we replaced it with $7 for 7 days. For $7, you get access to the first 3 months of the membership program for 7 days. And if you're, after 7 days, you take a look at it and you realize, yep, this is what I want. And you continue on and you still get access to those first 3 months and you just get billed monthly after that. If you say, no, not my thing, let us know. No harm done. And you won't get my program. And that's a state of scarcity. I'm kidding. You need to find what works for you. And so that program is there. And like I said, I really walk you through it step by step. You get video lessons every single month. You get hypnotic inductions to get it into your unconscious. You get access to a private Facebook group, which I moderate and I do participate in, and I answer the questions that you post in there. You also get the perspectives of your fellow members, which is always wonderful. You know, my perspective is one perspective, but when you get multiple perspectives, it makes the experience very rich. And then, of course, we also do group coaching calls every single month, so that I can make sure that you're really getting this stuff. You know, you're not just left alone to sort of figure it out on your own, which was my experience when I would attend NLP trainings live with teachers. It's wonderful to be able to do that in person, but once the training's over and the teacher, you know, is headed out to whatever other country they're going to do a training, you're left on your own. That was really difficult. I had to work through it and learn NLP in a lot of ways on my own. And I remember thinking when I started a business, I didn't want that for my students. I wanted to be a resource to them ongoing. And so the membership program is one way that you can do that. And I really enjoy doing that and trying to set up a more of a mentorship program than just, hey, take this training and then, you know, figure it out by yourself. So you still want me to summarize the 4 steps? Membership? No.
No, those the others.
Okay.
Try again.
Okay, one more time. So the 4 steps to move from scarcity to abundance. First, realize you're in a scarcity state. You can actually sit down and think about this with maybe a pen and paper. That always helps me. And think about where in the areas of your life that you're not satisfied, that you're not getting what you want. There's a good indication you're in a scarcity state. So realize that. So the first step is to realize you're in a state of scarcity. And now remember, you might be in a state of scarcity in one area of your life, but not in a state of scarcity in another area of your life. A state of scarcity doesn't mean across the board, across your entire life, you're in a state of scarcity. It doesn't usually work that way. It's usually in one area you feel it, that's scarcity, and in another area you might feel abundance. You might be very successful financially, but you might feel very empty because you're not paying attention to the things that you really enjoy doing, your passions. So you might feel in scarcity about that, but you might feel in abundance with money. That can happen. In fact, I think it's more common that happens than it doesn't. Step 2 is accept where you are, accept your limitations, but also accept the resources that you have around you, the solutions, the resources, the people. You know, I don't meet many people who don't have people who love them. It's really important to accept that. You know, even if you're in a state of scarcity, a lot of times you can't access that. But when you stop and go, oh wow, you know, I really do have people who care about me, who love me. Accept that about your situation. Most people, I'd say most people, not all people, are in good health. It's time to accept that. You know, having that good health is going to enable you to do so much. It enables you to do almost everything. But also accept your limitations. You only have so many hours in a day you can work. You only have so much ability, so much skill. And it's important to accept all of that too. So acceptance is the second step, and it's super important. Then number 3 is to identify the resource state or the abundance state that you think is going to work. And again, this might take some testing. You might identify what that resource is or that abundance state. You might get it and you go, oh, there's more to it than this. I need a second one, a third one, fourth one. And the 4th step is the most important, because if you don't do the 4th step, first 3 are all for nothing. They won't help you. The 4th step is to take action. That might be a series of actions. That might be one big, bold action. But anyway, any way you look at it, you will need to take action. That is the only way those first 3 steps serve you. So realize, accept, identify, action.
Good. Let's go and do them.
Let's do it. All right. So is everybody here going to do that? Type yes or hit like. Is there a delay?
Yes, most probably.
Yeah, okay. All right, so I'll hang out for another couple of minutes in case anybody has anything. If not, we're going to sign off. It's starting to get dark here in Budapest. Oh, thank you. You're in the insurance industry too. Yeah, and so also, if you're in the insurance industry, I'm not dissing the insurance industry. It was not for me. And I ended up doing it for over 10 years, but I'm not in any way saying it's not for you. If you enjoy it, if you're good at it, by all means do it. Thank you guys. Oh, you're welcome. Okay, here the yeses are coming in. Good couple. Aw, cute couple.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. All right, Antoine. Good. I'll hang out just for a little bit longer. If any of you are signed on later and didn't get the full story about why we were late and all that, we are in Budapest right now, Budapest, Hungary. If you've ever been here, it's a really nice, it's a really beautiful city. We arrived here last night after a week of
a
road trip across Romania. And so our parents are like the sweetest people. They live in Oradea, which is on the border of Hungary and Romania. And they let us use their car, and it's a standard. And I'm good with a standard. I know how to do it. I know how to drive a standard, but I don't normally drive a standard. I don't think I've driven a standard in years. And she knows how to drive.
There's not enough.
But she hasn't driven a lot. And her parents were like, "We think Damon should drive." And I was like, "Okay, I'll drive."
Very confident.
So it's a foreign country. I'm going to say this. I'm not in any way dissing Romanians. They're aggressive drivers. They really are aggressive drivers. And the roads are just different. I mean, 80% is the same as the US, but there's about 20% that's different. So we're road tripping across Romania. I'm driving a stick shift. And it's a little scary sometimes. There was a few times there I got stressed.
Really, that's good if you don't show it.
I don't think well, there was one night when we got to Brasov.
Yeah, it was obvious.
I'm not saying it right, so Brasov.
Brasov.
So yeah, by the time we got to Brasov, I was stressed and irritated, but it didn't last. Once we got there, it was good. Let's see. I'm sorry I missed your presentation. Hope I can rewatch this later. Of course you can. It'll stay up. I bet it's so beautiful. Can't wait to fly there. Cool. Yeah, I recommend Budapest. It's especially if you're American, the dollar is pretty strong here. So.
What about Romania?
It's very strong in Romania.
I said I recommend Budapest. And I'm sitting
the
next
dollar
to
is very strong in Romania.
The only reason.
No, Romania is quite beautiful too. I love the history in both these countries. It's well preserved, and I love travel, and I find people.
So what do you recommend?
Oh, if you're coming to Budapest, you might as well go to Romania.
Yeah.
Right there. If you're going to Romania, you might as well come to Budapest. You're practically here. One of the things I love about travel is you find good people wherever you go. People are just good. I haven't been to a place where I could say that people are just awful. People are good, and and it's really cool when you get to hang out with a family. You get to see what life is really like. And you're not just a tourist roaming around looking at tourist things. So hanging out with their family and eating Romanian breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's good. Her mother's a great cook. All right. I think, okay, we're getting some yeses. Good. Use this process. Watch the first video, not the first video, watch the video I released on Wednesday. I talk more about this. I don't give the process that I just gave you, but this video is not a repeat of what I talked about in the other video. Some things, but there's some overlap, but you'll get more value by watching that other video to connect more to what we're talking about here. And as I mentioned, we'll post a comment, the link to the membership in the comments below. So if you want to join the membership, you want to check it out for 7 days for $7. Highly recommend that you do. If you like this stuff, you'll like what's in the membership. All right, I think we're ready to sign off. Next time I do this, I will be back in Santa Cruz. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Take care.
Bye.